How are you doing? How are you doing? Okay. We'll wait a few minutes for everybody to get on. 1 second. Okay. Go lie down, buddy. My dog, he wants a snack. I'll be right back. Let me give him a snack so he doesn't get all crazy. Okay, sorry about that. We'll start in 1 minute. Okay, so today we're gonna do lab. I want to preview I found an error on it, so I want to make sure I point that out to you guys. So okay, I'm gonna put in a couple of links in the chat. This is where you're gonna be able to find the software that they're using for practice lab, and of course you can always look it up.
Hey, Chris, it was good to see you in the meeting.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
I thought that was you from the CIS-25.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we had 25 together, 27. I don't know if you're taking 30A.
No, I'm just doing 27, 5, and then 27.
Yeah, I taught 27 last semester. Chris had me in 27. We did it concurrently with 25. So
Yeah, we
yeah.
were both in your 25 class. We were just left the cybersecurity meeting.
Oh, okay. At RCC?
Yeah, the security club.
Yeah, I know Skip is running that, so that's good. He's doing a lot of things for you guys.
Professor Nguyen, we should create one for our campus.
I've been asking about that for 2 years. It's actually student initiated. So, you know, if you want to do that, I've been asking some of the students from STEM Club, but because they're in the STEM Club, because I'm an advisor for STEM Club right now at NVC. If the students, if they want to do that, they fill out a form with student services, and then it goes to council, and and then they authorize it. And with the club, they can put in some money into the account for the club to spend for club purposes, like, if they wanted to buy stuff for fundraising, things like that. But, so far, like, none of the STEM students wanted to do that yet, but I will bring it up again. So
I'm
I
willing
can,
to. I'm
yeah,
willing to do
you,
it. I'm the
okay.
ICC rep for them, so but I'd rather do it in my home campus.
Yeah, so that way it's closer for you. And I checked with them. I can co-advise. Well, technically, I'm a co-advisor for STEM, but I've been running the show because the other advisor, she's busy. But I can co-advise on both. Anyway, yeah, I'll find the form. I'll send it to you, and if you wanted to recruit people, you can set it up. Because I'm trying to apply for some of the things for MVC that requires a student club as well. So that's good to know that you want to do that. Thank you. Okay, so if you just got on, I dropped in the chat the links where you can find the software that Practice Lab is using. So I want to go over some of the details in Practice Lab. So ideally, when you're using Cloud Lab and we're on Zoom, it's a little spotty depending on the connection. So I try not to make you be on Zoom and do the lab all together, because sometimes that can create a lot of lag as far as response from the Cloud Lab. So I'm going to try to go and preview the step as fast as I can, and then I'll give you time to do the lab. In case you run into a problem, like things don't work, shoot me an email. Usually I respond pretty quickly so I can help you. But if it's on their technical side, you have to send a ticket and they get back to you the next day. But the majority, I tested through the steps. It should be running okay. There's one step that they have, in the command line that they have a single quotation mark instead of the double. So you might get into an error. You might get an error when you do that step. Okay. So in lab 4, I decided not to give you the homework because I need to take a look at the content a little closer, and then we'll take care of the homework next week. So your goal is to complete the in-class assignment and the lab for this week, and that's it. Okay, and if you like, you can read, pre-read the next chapter, which is chapter 5. So the purpose of this lab is to get you to understand a little bit more on what things would look like. Because when we went over the notes, I can tell you this is this and this is that. But if you have a little bit of hands-on, you will see what a file would look like when you do forensic, what the drive would look like, between the NTFS, with the NTFS file system, and then where it is on the file system. So these tools is going to give you the overview on what that would look like when you create a case in forensic. Okay, so I'm going to share screen real quick, and then I have my things running. So before we start Practice Lab, I want to point out I put in the link for Hack Workshop. So this is a tool that you can use to really look at the type of data that you have. You can also calculate the hex value. You can take a look at the checksum. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can use with this. So it's for development purposes, but on the forensic side, it really shows you the details in what the data would be. Okay, so they give you some screenshot here. And Breakpoint Software is the company that produced this. And if you go back to the home tab on that site, you would find the download, which gives you the beta version. So now they do have the commercial license. And if you want to buy, you can buy, but you can use this to practice for now. And then when you work in the industry or work in the field, And if you need to use something like this, this would be one of the software you can take a look at. The second part of the lab, it's going to use a tool called OS Forensic. And OS Forensic, I know that the commercial license is close to $1,000, but you can get the free version of the beta. That's what Practice Lab is using. Now, when you take a look at the download, take also a look at your download hash set. So for different versions, you can download the hash set with it too, and you can go through the installation. So what they did with the Practice Lab is they already set up a virtual machine, and on that virtual machine, we have where it stores the installation file. So you simply just run the virtual machine and install and so forth. Okay. So these are some of the tools that you can check out. So my goal is for your project, I will send you via postal mail, you know, a bag that would contain the drives, and then inside it, you know, you would use your tools, your tool set to be able to evaluate the drive and then write up a report as if it was a small case that you're working on. So I will include the instructions on Canvas and also in the package, so that way you would be able to go through and set it up. Okay. Sorry about my dog. Okay. So let's talk about Practice Lab. So in Canvas, where can you find Practice Lab link if you didn't do Lab 2 yet? You would find it in Lab 4. And when you click the Lab 4 link, it gives you some general instruction. Before we start Practice Lab, keep in mind that this is the cloud lab, so it requires that you have stable connection. Otherwise, you're gonna have to get out and get back in. It does save your virtual machine when you don't reset it. That's if you close it, you come back, it does do that. But if you reset it, everything gets wiped. For the virtual machine, make sure that we follow the instruction and use the right virtual machine. Otherwise, you're gonna get into the issue where you can't find some tools, or, you know, you can't locate certain icon, or, you know, so we wanna make sure we use the right virtual machine. And for today, you are gonna use Windows 8.1, which is the virtual machine that they created. When you completed all the exercises, including the hands-on near the end, you want to click the done button, so that way it would, you know, grade and submit your grade onto Canvas. There is a lag. I know that some of you took CIS-25 already, so you already know, but I just want to go over this in case you're new. There is a lag with the grade sync with Canvas, and we talked to the engineers about this. So it's about how Canvas kind of updated. Sorry, one second. Thank you. Okay, so when we click the Practice Lab, it's gonna take you to here, and it's gonna prompt you. There's some exam prep information. So exam prep is the icon on the top right here, and you can select different preparation material on Practice Lab. We ran into a little bit of issue with Security Plus and A Plus last semester, and I talked to the director for Practice Lab, and he is working on fixing some of the issue that we were having. But you can take a look at some of the type of the related exam core. And then the instruction is the sheet right here. If you ever need to send a service ticket, click the Access Help button, which gives you the guides, and also you can send them an email, which is the link here for the contact information. They take about 24 hours to get back, within the 24 hours. So we are to do this partition using the tool, and then we are also going to use the OS Forensic to be able to look at files, and also web history And the way that they have it is that you are going to create a user, and then that user, you're going to set up where she, Denise Robbins, would save favorites and access certain websites. And so you can take a look at like the registry file and be able to identify what she has as, you know, what she saved and her traffic. Okay. So with this, what we need to do is you can look at the instruction on the left-hand side and notice that it tells you to use 810, which is the first virtual machine listed here. So you will need to power that on. You have to click power on, and I already have that on. So, sorry, it tells me invalid session as a timeout. So if you have it power on, you can set it where it shows as 2 small window on your screen, or if you click it, it simply bring you to that virtual machine. Let me redo that. Oh, okay. So once you establish the connection, it auto logs on. So some of the things I want to point out to you when you're doing this lab, like maybe you have seen this in other classes, in other practice lab exercises. So this key at the top right here is for the virtual machine and practice lab to auto login. They have that enabled so that way you don't have to type in the password, because initially you don't know what that password is. So at one point in the lab, you will have to disable that so you can choose the user that you need to log in as, like Denise Robbins or administrator. So if you simply click it, it disabled the auto login, okay? And then on the next button right here, that's just for the console mode, and then the device information to see what devices is connecting. And if you want to disconnect or reconnect the device, you simply click the little lightning strike that allows you to reconnect to that, okay? Now, when we exit out, let's say I close my browser window right now, what that will do is it doesn't really reset the machine. It just simply save that state. So what happens is you can go back to it. But if you click reset, let's go back here. If you click the reset button on it, what that does is it actually reset the machine. But we have an option to power off, to suspend, to refresh, etc. So those are some of the things we need to check out. Now, if you're using a pop-up blocker on your browser, so Practice Lab works pretty good with, you know, Edge, Chrome is okay, or even Firefox. But in some cases, let's say that you don't have certain packages or add-ons for your browser, or certain settings. Let's say if you have a firewall set up and if you block the window, it's not going to show up. So what you need to do is you need to enable for that virtual machine to show up. And on mine, I use Chrome, so I just enable it always from Practice Lab. And once you do that, it's always going to allow that pop-up. Okay. So the first part is that make sure that we're using 810. You don't have to worry about the other virtual machine. So as you go through the instruction, the first part is to use Hex Workshop. And with the Hex Workshop is that you can obtain the executable file from the Internet Explorer. So let me show you what that would look like. So that might sound confusing. So a lot of the students that when I've been using Practice Lab for about a year now, we see that student would click their computer Edge or Internet Explorer and they think it's the virtual machine. It's not that. So make sure that you click the E, the old Internet Explorer, in the virtual machine. So once you click that, what that will do is it's going to open up their home page. And on their home page, you have links to download specific files. Okay, like for example, like the data files or certain type of files. So now if you save a certain file, so these files were made public, and that allows you to be able to go in and download it. So the public files are here. Okay. So when you take a look at this, it tells you to open up the Internet Explorer inside the virtual machine. And then what you're going to do is you can click run. And actually, no, you have to download the exe under this path. So it tells you to go to installation files and then click data forensic. So once you navigate to that, you will find this executable file and you would run it inside the virtual machine. With that, what that will do is it's going to install the hex workshop. And with the hex workshop, you will be able to evaluate the drives, right? Whether it's an NTFS or a FAT. We talked about that last time. And then the free space on that. And, you know, so the screenshot from the text, it's going to look similar to that as it is a different tool compared to Paladin or some of the professional commercial tool that they had screenshotted. Okay, so here what I had installed it already, but as you can see, right, you would find the type of files here. And then let me see. It takes me to the Cisco one. So under the installation files is going to be our, so what we have to do is we have to get to tools, and then we would need to go to installation files, and then we need to get to our executable. So once you navigate to here from the installation files with the data forensic, you're going to get an executable. It looks like this. So the screenshot is like that. You can also search for it. And then once you're done, you're going to click install. Okay. So now let me go to. Okay, installation files, and then data forensics, and then download the executable. Here's your data forensic directory, and then here's your exe. Okay, so we simply go to installation files and then data forensic. Once you click this, the executable is going to download. It's going to show up like this, and then you simply click run. Okay. Now, it might take a little bit depending on the traffic. Once you have it downloaded and ran, you can proceed to the installation, which keeps all the default setting information anyway. Okay. So now, once it's installed, what that will do is that we will be able to access the application, and with that application, we'll be able to open up our drive. So because the way that the user account control is set up, it's going to prompt this. So what you need to do is you need to enable yes. Okay. 1 second. I gotta get my laptop connection charge here. So once you click yes, what that will do is it's gonna give you the installation wizard. And with the installation wizard, we can see that it's gonna launch like this, okay? Now, since I have it installed, I see a little bit different. So for yours, you would follow the instruction, and it's going to tell you to use the typical installation, and then you're going to click next and then finish. So I had that installed already. So I'm going to go ahead and exit the installation. But the instructions tell you what to do here. If you go back to practice lab, and it tells you that you're using version 6.7. You have to accept the license agreement. So you have to check the other box, I accept, and then choose the typical installation. Okay. Then go through the install. And now, important when you get to this step right here at the completion of the install, make sure that you click yes, so it reboots the virtual machine. This is a Windows thing, right? Like you would install a new application, and if it needs to update the system files, what it wants to do is it wants to restart. So you have to select the yes, and then it's going to reboot your virtual machine, and it's going to auto log in if you have that defaulted enabled. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So on your desktop, you would see an icon like this after you reboot. Now, let's say that I forgot to reboot, right? You can always choose the reboot option on the virtual machine itself, and then that will allow you to restart the computer or the virtual machine. So you would have the H showing up for the icon. Let me get out of my, okay, so it will look like this. So here it is. So when you open up the application and it tells you to go ahead and click on disk and then open drive. What this will do is it's going to allow you to browse to the drive that is connected to that system and be able to see the content of that drive. And from the forensic side is that, let's say that you collected a USB. First, what we want to do is we wanted to duplicate the image from that USB. So we want to take a copy of that without opening anything from that USB and put it on another drive, and then use the copy to be able to evaluate it. Because if you start opening up when you plug that USB in without using the forensic software, what that will do is it's going to change it's going to update some of the content using the firmware in that USB, and that becomes an issue for us. So with this tool, what we can do is we can open up a drive, and we have to tell it yes to be able to see what's inside a certain drive. Now, we're limited to what would be connected as the virtual machine, but realistically, if you have the laptop for forensic or the desktop for forensic, what we'll do is we will plug in the drive that contained a copy of the image, and then we can see, right? And we can also check, right? Checksum for each of the drive itself, and also the directory or the file that we're looking at. So here it tells you to look at the C drive. Okay, I'm gonna minimize this real quick. And with this, what you see is that you would see something like this. And in the lab, it have you open up the C drive with the software, click on disk, open the drive, go to C drive. Now, in case if you're getting an error message, just ignore it. You know, you have to select yes. Now, in the C drive, it would display the RNTFS. And that RNTFS is on the right-hand side after you see all the hex value. What does that mean for us? It means that that's the file system that's used to format that drive. And if you see, if you're looking at a FAT type of file system on the drive, right, it should show some MSD0S5 or Win4. So that would tell you what type of file system that you're looking at for that partition, that section of the drive. So that's something that we we need to document, and because from there on you would know how to approach, right, what kind of evaluation you need to take a look at that file system, as what the chapter has described. Okay. And then once you have looked at the C drive, then we can take a look at the USB drive. So here, as it described, you see the NTFS, and that would always be at the top for the Windows partition. So you would see some kind of indication at that sector that this is the file system that you're using. Okay. Then next, what we would do is we would go in and we would open up our USB. Okay. And again, when you look at the USB, see, it also shows that it is formatted with NTFS. And not all USB are formatted with NTFS. In other cases, you would see either FAT or other file system. So here, what you can see is that showing in that sector. And if you're curious, you can scroll down and take a look. And then it shows you boot manager and some information. Okay. And all of that kind of logically lay out on where everything should be or what it is. Any questions so far? So with step 13, we looked at the USB drive, okay, in Hex Workshop. And you notice that when you open up the drive, it shows the tab in the middle there, which drive it is, so that way you can select back and forth. So when we go back to this right here, right, if you expand it, you would find this. So I originally had the C, so I can click back into the C and take a look at that, and then I can click. So as you open up more drives, it would show these tabs across. So that way, why is that? Well, we need to also compare. At times we needed to really compare the content maybe, or looking at, you know, separate content. So in each drive that would show there, okay? So that's an evaluation of the drive. And then, so with that, you can also inspect another drive. So if you use this on your home computer, like let's say you install it on your Windows 10 system, right? Plug in a couple USB, right? And then, or if you have partitions on your disk, you can take a look at that so you can experiment a little bit more. Because, you know, in the practice lab environment, they have control where they would put specific drives. So sometimes the lab doesn't always show all the extra stuff, or sometimes the errors, sometimes, you know, software challenges, or deficiency. So we wanted to really expand our skill set by looking at other drives. Okay. So now the next part is to look at file from using the Hex Workshop. So with that, instead of clicking the disk, what you do is you click File and then you choose Open. And once we choose Open, we can navigate to the C drive, Program File, Common File, Services. And we need to take a look at a bitmap file, which is image-based. And once we open it, you wanted to take a look at that file. So for example, I can look at JPEG, I can look at, you know, a text document, whatever type file it is, you still be able to navigate to it with this software tool. So now let's do that real quick, okay? And so here we do File, Open. And then we want to select from C. We're gonna go to Program Files. And then we're gonna go to Common File. So you just follow the breadcrumbs there and then go to Services. and then here's VeriSign. So now VeriSign is a type of service that validate, right, trust either on websites or on another system. So and their scope of services can be larger than that, but VeriSign been around for a long time. Now, the things that we see through security is that sometimes you would have hoax trusted sites, right? Like they would make a static page and then they would take a JPEG or an image file that looks like a legitimate company and they would put it onto the site, or you would have a document that would have this image. So ideally on the site that have established trust with some of these companies that provide the service, there would be a link when you click that image and it takes you to the appropriate, information about the company, the trust certificates. So this established a certificate for trust in security. And if it's a fake page, what that will do is you would see that it's just an image and you can't really click it, right? Because anybody can grab image from the web and then they would put it on there. But what they do with that is they would get the information from the user by faking the trust, by making a false trust, right? Because I look at it and I say, oh, it's VeriSign, so I'm okay. So I'm going to start filling out my account information, my address, my phone number, my social security, and that's a way that they can phish as well. So you do see that with some phishing. It's a phishing strategy that they use a lot of time on the web. So here we simply select the image file, which is the bitmap, and we can take a look at it. So it shows me that it's a BM here for the bitmap and with the lab. So on the right, this shows you the data offset, meaning that how that will be laid out logically at a specific addresses through that application, because this is an application file. It's created through an application, and be able to really tie everything together. And the computer, what it is all the content of a file, it translates everything back to 0 and 1s anyway, right? It converts everything back to 0 and 1s. At the human level, we would use something like this to really see where everything would be logically laid out. So looking at this, what that will do is it shows you how to really look at a specific type of file. So for the bitmap, you would see a BM or a BM6 or a BMF. So when you evaluate the file, right, in the software tool, you would see that it would show what that file would be, what kind of application would use that file using some kind of indicator there. So your BMP file, it shows up as BM, and we saw that. And then it has you take a look at another file. So they're using some legacy file like .doc using Office 2003, which is older, right? But you do see company using older applications. So we would go back into C, and then we open up work folder, open up data files, and then chapter 0, CH01, and we're going to open up a document, and we're going to take a look at that to see the difference. Okay. So now Microsoft Office uses specific thing to indicate that that is the type of file for their applications. So the whole purpose in this part of the exercise is to show you the difference between the image file and the application file. So we're going to go to File, Open, and then we get back to C, and then we're going to go to Work Folder, Data Files, oh, sorry, I removed the CH01. That's part of the other exercise, but you open up the CH01 and you would find the case document there and take a look at that. Okay. Later on, they're going to have you delete it. I didn't reset my virtual machine before I start showing you this. But so once you have the doc file shows up, what you're gonna look for is on the first line, like where you would find the BM from the last few steps, you would see like D0, CF11, E0. So the hex values there indicate that this is an older Office document. And similarly with Excel and PowerPoint, but Access is slightly different, it says. Okay, so when you see something like that, you know that it is an Office application file. And then, so that way you can kind of see what kind of file that is and what would be the next tool you would use, right? Which is we're going to get to the next part. So after you take a look at the file, which it would look like this, and then you would close it. So Hex Workshop allows us to take a look at the drive, right? The type of drive that we have, the type of file that we have. And unlike some of the commercial tool, the other commercial tool would have extra feature where you can expand on it a little bit more. So if you were using free tool that we didn't have the commercial license for, we're not going to have those extra features. So we have to find other tools to be able to add on to that. Okay. So that will be the Hex Workshop part. Okay. Now, on the second part, it has you go back. So after you close that, you're going to start with the task where you're going to collect the user SID. SID stands for Security Identifier. So every account that you create in Windows environment, it creates a security ID value. Okay, this is a way that it can track whether it's on server or it's on a desktop system. So what that will do is that it would tie all the policy, and it would it ties everything back to that ID. So on the in the network environment, what we see is that, let's say that I log in on one client system in certain part of the network. Once, in order to authenticate me, it needs to really look at the security ID and the password that's correlated with that. Once the user authenticated, it's going to authorize and bring down the SAM agent to that client system. So it's going to load all the allowed policy to that, so that way we can control what the user can access, you know, like drive, applications, all the permissions and the privileges that would tie to that account. Okay, so to investigate, what we can do is we can take a look at the user account and we can say, what is the SID for that account? Because in the back, when you create a username, right, and you set up the password for that user, it creates that SID. So here it shows you how you can be able to do that. And in this, what you would do is you would run command prompt in Windows. Okay, so let's close this. Now this is Windows 8.1. It's similar to 10. It has some different, you know, GUI layout a little bit, close to Windows 7 and 10. So if you right click the start button on it, you can choose run, and on the 7 or Windows 10, you can do the same thing. You can right click the Windows start button. They don't call it start button anymore, but we're so used to the older version, we still call it Windows start button. So you would click the run. Now on Windows 10, you would have, depending on the version that you have more options listed there, but it would have a lot of the management console for the system that would tie to that computer or that OS. So here we can click run, and then we would type in CMD and click OK. Okay. Now on Windows 10, we simply just search. What is that? Search for the CMD. On Windows 7, you have to click Start, Run, and then do CMD. So we transition part of it. But anyway, so after you have your command prompt open, you would do I call it wmic. So what this will do is you can find out more information about specific things. wmics also allow you to find out drive information and such. But in this case, what you can do is you can look up user account, right? And you can specify the name. Now, if you don't do this part where name is administrator, you can do wmic get sid name, right? Sid comma name, and you know, there are many ways to issue the command where we can get some, you know, the similar or the same details. Now, when you do this for your practice lab, make sure you use double quotation mark. Otherwise, you would come across the error, because if you use a single like what they have here, because I ran this to test when I was going through the steps, it keeps not knowing what it is. So use the double quotation mark and then press enter. And what you will get is you will get a number, right? And that number indicates the privilege for that, or the type of account that is. Because with the administrator account, it would have a specific value that would be ending with 500. And that number is significant in Windows security is because that tells you what level of access that user is. So if we're investigating a breach and we find an obscure user that's in our network, right? Let's say a Windows network environment. What we need to do is we need to take a look at that SID and see, because the first step is to get in. The second step is to escalate privileges. That's part of, you know, hacking, is that they find a way in. Once they want to elevate the privilege to get more access. So we need to really determine what kind of access they have. So this is a good way that we can investigate the type of user that we're looking at. So instead of administrator, you can put in the username like Debbie, Robin, Sam Smith, whatever the user account the username that you created for that user. Okay. And then again, right, we can go home and practice it on our regular PC or your Windows virtual machine and see what that is. Okay. So once you look at that account, you kind of have an idea of what they can and they cannot do. And that's the whole point in looking at SID, is to see what that account is, what type of account that is. So now what we have is we would see what they delete. So a lot of the time, disgruntled employee, right? Like let's say that I did not get the raise, and I worked so hard on the project, and you know, but the raise went to my partner or my group member, but you know, I created all the files. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete all the files and create problems, right? Because I'm mad, I'm disgruntled. And in a lot of cases, they will do more than just deleting files. They would leak the files if it's like essentially companies, you know, material that would have leverage. They would sell the file. So there are a lot of different areas that we have to really examine depending on the nature of the case. So in this, what it's going to show you is to how to look at deleted files using OS Forensic. And you saw that you can get the free version for that. Okay, so what they have is they have this installed on Windows 8.1, but we can always download and put it on our system. Just make sure that you read the information before you start getting the download file. So going back here, okay, if you click the start button, it opens up the search bar here, okay, and then click the search, the magnifying glass to get the search. So Windows 8 is a little bit different than 10, where the search bar is already, you know, on the bottom of the taskbar for Windows 10. So you click start and then you click the magnifying glass and then you can search. So if we put in OS forensic, right, then we can quickly find the application. Okay, and then go ahead and click yes to allow it. And it would look something like this. So OS Forensic is pretty nice. So we're going to use the free version, but you know that the professional version has a little bit more whistles and bells and whistles, sorry, and to be able to manage your case. Then once you're in here, the instructions going to tell you to create a new case. Okay. So we would go ahead and start a new case. If you took my security class last semester, you already had some experiment with something like this. But this is also, so we can, you know, first we got to make sure that we name our case. So in the instructions, it tells you to use OS Forensic, and you simply search for that on Windows 8.1 virtual machine. We're going to use the free version. We're going to create a new case, and then we want to name a new case deleted files. So realistically, in the real world, we would name the case based on the nature of the problem that we're facing or we're investigating. Sometimes that can pertain to specific group of people. Sometimes that can, you know, it all depends on the nature of the case and also the way that the company is operating. So here they tell you to put deleted files because we're going to look for deleted files. And once you type that in, it's going to have a storage for that, and we can tie a lot of things to it. Okay. So let's do that real quick. As you can see, I get a little bit of lag here with multiple things. Okay. Now, pay attention that it puts it into C drive administrator documents, you know, it bears it under a certain area. So if you want something quicker to find, you can also browse and then create your folder and put it in there. You can fill out the rest of the information as needed. So I had created one and it tells me it already exists and it would show up here. Okay. All right. So with this, what we have is we have a location where we would store our case information. And then you can also search for it if you have many. Okay. And in the next part, what we're going to do is we're going to use the interface here, and we are going to look for, we're going to examine a device. Okay. So in the instruction, it tells you to look at, to look at the file system browser, and then you're going to add a device. So in managed case, we're going to look at file system browser. Okay, here it is. And then what we can do is we can add a device. Sorry, I have to select it. No case open. Yeah, I didn't like that because I finished it already. But so you have to create a case in order to be able to tie things to that case. Okay. So what you have file system browser with this, you can point to the drive and the type of mode that you would have. So in here, what they have is you got to select, right, the actual case that you created, then you select the device, and then you would point to C drive, and then click OK. So since I created it, it just brings me to this, right? And then again, you would go back to the file browser and you would look at specific things. So last time we talked about when people put things in recycle bin or the trash, right? It doesn't delete. We know that. You can always recover from that. But let's say that they quickly dump a bunch of files in there. Now, if you go into their computer and you open up the recycle bin and you start opening up the file, guess what happens? It changes the file access date. It changes the timestamp. And we don't want to do that. We want to use the forensic software to go into it, to go into the copy of that image. And then we want to take a look at it to see when was it deleted, what kind of file it is, right? And or how many files were deleted, things like that. Okay. So now when you get to, let me see if I can open this. I'm getting such lag on practice lab, sorry. Just not responding like I wanted. So when you open it, you're gonna see that there's like 3 recycle bin folder with the 1521XX. I believe it's the 3rd one, right? From the top, you're gonna find the content of what you need to look for. So you're gonna browse to that folder, and what you see is you're gonna see a desktop.ini. Okay. So that's the file that was deleted. Okay. So now if you experiment this at home, right? You can log into your Windows system as administrator, run OS forensic, and then you can start looking to see which, what was deleted on the computer when you left it alone and your family members were using it. You can also take a look at what type of stuff that they did on the browser. So OS Forensic allows you to explore a lot of different areas. And remember, we want to use this for the good now, okay? Because if we start looking and tampering with people's privacy, then it's going to create a problem. But if it's your computer, you can start looking into it. So once we find the deleted file, okay, we can also, take a look at, we can delete something and we can see what was deleted. So what they have you do in step 11 here is they have you go in and delete more files and see if it's going to show up in that folder through OS Forensic. So manually, what you have to do to this part is, we're not doing anything here yet. You're going to go into File Explorer or the File Manager. And then you are going, come on. And then you're going to go to C. And then you're going to go to the Work folder. And then the data files. And then they're going to have you remove something. Okay. So data files, and then you're going to get rid of that chapter 1 folder. That's why you don't see it on mine, because once I delete it, right, it puts it into the recycle bin. So you delete that whole CH101 folder and you're left with, the others. Then you are going to go back to OS Forensic, and you're going to go to your system, your file system browser, and you're going to see if that the folder that you just delete shows up there, and it should. Okay. And we want to look at it there. We don't want it to go into the recycle bin and look at it, because it changes the state of the system. Okay, question. So here it also allows you to explore the content of that folder. What, so sometimes people would drag it to the recycle bin and then, what's inside that folder, we wanted to see what kind of files that was deleted. Okay. So let me see. Now, when you look at the file properties, it's going to tell you exactly what that is, the timestamp of it, when it was created, when it was modified, when it was accessed, very similar to the regular file property, but also it shows more on, it gives you more tab on what that file would be. Okay. So when you click on File Viewer, if it's a document, if it's able to convert it and show it to you, it will show you the entire document. So we're able to view the file without opening it up through a software. Okay. So let's say that, and the one that you're looking at, it has some legal content inside it, right? And in some cases, we would have to look at emails or text document or PDF or whatever it is. So this allows you to view the file without actually truly going to the location and opening up using a software to do that. So it's going to look like this. So when I tested this earlier, I did see this, and then you have to select the pattern type so you can have it as the either ASCII or hex. Okay. And extract string. So in the text viewer tab, you would see it something like this. Okay. You would have pieces of information, but you won't have everything as what it would present in the file viewer. And then the metadata for this is just to display about that document file. Okay. So when we take this for a case, what we want to do is we want to be able to document, right, for our report, what kind of file it is, what does it contain, what kind of metadata information that we're getting, or put down some of the when it was created, when it was accessed. So look at the property of that file. Okay. Okay. So the part with the offset tells you, so you're looking at a different document at this point. It's still a .doc. And what that will do is it's going to show you where that file is spread, right? Because we can have one file and it can put it in different part of the disk. Now, if you scroll down and you see a bunch of Fs, that will be the free space. So that means that it has nothing there compared to where it would be, where the cluster would be, you would see value like 4, 0, 2, B, F, etc. Okay. So if it occupied a certain cluster, you would see the value, the hex value that's given. It's the location for the location that file occupied. Okay. And then you also look at the disk. So we can also use the software to search for specific things. Like they have you search for legitima and as a text term or a word, and then you're gonna click find. So what that will do is gonna give you a list of results, and it's gonna say these are the location where it finds that word, right? That text value that you specify. Okay, so when we do this, make sure that we select the appropriate option. If we're looking for text, so it's going to give you a list like this. So this step works fine. And then after that, you're gonna get out of the raw viewer back to this. Okay, any question? Okay, so in exercise 3, you are gonna create a user in that window. So real quick, right? For the people who took my CS-25, you should know this already. We make user account. So you can right click start Windows button, and then you can use computer management console. And this only allows us to create user account to that local machine. So you would have the local users and group here. And then, so the steps walk you through this. I'm just speeding it up. And then through the user. So they're gonna have you create Denise Robin. So to make the new user account, you simply right click anywhere here, or you can right click the user folder on the left, choose new user. And then you type in the name and then the password. I unchecked this to not require the user to change the password, and they have you do that. So I made the user account Denise Robbins. The reason why we're making the user is that we are going to log in as this user, and we're going to visit websites, and we're going to, you know, add favorites to our browser. We bookmark on the browser, and then after that, what we'll do is we're going to log back on as administrator, and then we're going to investigate what Denise Robbins was doing on her browser. Okay. So those are the steps on how to make a new user account and the password that you need to use. Remember, this is a 0, not an O. Okay. So once you have the user account set up, you are going to turn off the auto login. Remember what I said? You're going to click the key symbol on your virtual machine. So that way, when you log off as an administrator and you click the Denise Robbins, you're gonna be able to log in as her. Otherwise, it's gonna auto default. Oh, it's gonna auto default to administrator. Okay. So let me show you that real quick, so that way you know. Okay. So once I have the user account, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna log off. So click start, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and click the power button right here. And then I'm gonna disconnect. Okay. Now I'm gonna turn off my auto login by clicking this right here, and then I'll reconnect. Okay. I know that the step shows a little bit differently, and I tested this earlier. That's like the easiest. Okay. So here you see that the system has 3 accounts. So we're gonna go ahead and log in as Denise Robin, put in the password. And now we're logged in as her. Okay, so here is Denise Robin login. Then once she's logged in, or once you're using her account, what you will do is, and you can follow the steps. The first time that she logs in, you're gonna see a bunch of, you know, application install warning, and then you're just gonna click install, agree license agreement, and then that's gonna take you to the desktop. Okay, so we're gonna have her, she's gonna search for computer forensics on Internet Explorer, and then it's gonna take her to the search web page, and then she's gonna click on Open Learn, and then add it to the favorites. So, you know, your regular user search for things and then find a website and then add to the favorites. Okay. Then after that, Denise Robbins as a user are gonna get, you know, log off. Then we're gonna log back on as administrator and we are gonna take a look at the Windows registry for Denise Robbins. Okay. So you have to do those things in order to see it. Otherwise, it's not going to show up. So you have to log in as Denise Robbins and then follow the steps. And to examine it again, we're going to go back and use OS Forensic. And then make a new case. And because this time we're looking at some activity, they call it the live acquisition. So what they're looking at, what they're doing. So create a case and be able to collect artifacts for that case. Okay. Let's see. Now on the OS Forensic, you're going to use Registry Viewer instead of Raw Disk Viewer or the File System Viewer. We did that a while back. So on this part, you're going to use Registry Viewer. And the ntuser.dat, this is a very common thing to look at too for the registry, is that it's stored to that local machine. And so what you can do is you can take a look at, you know, what was saved to that user profile on that local machine, which she saved the Open Learning on her web browser. Okay, because anytime that you use the system and you save something to the OS, what that does is it modify it update the keys, the values, and the data in the registry. So it would use that to be able to load whatever you need, you know, in the case where you need to go back and access that bookmark or page or access files and so forth. So that's a good way that we can take a look at what they have. Okay, so since she saved open.edu, we can search for it and be able to find it. Okay. Now, people are more clever than that, right? They would delete, remove history and things like that. And there are other software that we can use to, and policy that we can control to disallow them from deleting browsing history. And in some cases, we can still dig up some of the stuff that they have visited and viewed. Okay. So with this, what we can do is we can find what she had added. So it's technically not very long. It should take like an hour to finish, you know, but it's because the screenshot, the pages feel like it's a lot. So once you have your file on Denise, what you can do is you can generate the report. Okay, so we would click generate report, and this tool is going to give you the opportunity to export what you save in that directory chapter 05 to a location. So again, like what we've been saying about the practice, we would put that onto, you know, our drives where we store that case, and that drive has to be pre-sanitized. And if we put it on a system, we would have a secure location on that system for that particular case. Okay. Then you are going to open up Office Writer, and then, you know, then we would have to draft up the report, write it up, information. So at this point, they have you close everything. So we would create a report like this. But, you know, we'll get to the report writing section later, right? You would put the case number, you would put the case information, the artifacts, right? What you found, how you found it, etc. Okay. So they just have you, so it exported some information. It gives you, you know, some of the details. Open up the Excel spreadsheet and then just repeat the process. So copy everything over. So this is straightforward. Okay. So hands-on project, learning what you had learned in HEX workshop from the exercises. You are to open up a text, the .text file that's at the certain location. So they don't give you the detailed steps here in the hands-on project. This requires you to remember what you did previously to be able to do that. Okay, so it gives you some of the steps, follow the steps, look at the raw disk. So similar to what we've done before. Okay. Now, when I get to the end, in exercise 5.4 or project 5.4, this is pretty cool because you look at, you mount the C drive and then you select the case number. What you do is you are going to click on find browser passwords, right? You notice how whenever you access a secure website, you issue your browser, if you click save your password, right, it saves it to that system locally. So what we can do is we can retrieve the passwords. Why is this important, right? In the case where if you're investigating, right, if they're logging into a certain website to be able to access something like transfer funds from one account to another, stuff like that. So we can retrieve and show that these are the passwords that were used. So OS Forensic has the capability to do that. And then look over the summary, which is essential because it gives you all the details about different file system, like what we talked about on Monday. And then it goes into a little bit of NTFS with the compression, with FAT16 about Windows environment. So when I get to page 9, when I finish everything, make sure I click the done button. Otherwise, you don't get 100%. Okay. And then, you know, you can wait to check Canvas grade later and it should port the grade over. All right. Any question? Okay. So your goal is to complete the lab before the weekend, so you don't have to do that and worry about it over the weekend. And then I decided to move the homework 1 week forward, so next week we'll do the homework. Okay, and we'll take care of the quiz too later. Okay, so I'm gonna get out of share now. Do you have any question for me? Okay, go ahead. And so I will input your attendance maybe today or tomorrow. I just got to pull the report from Zoom. And if you want, you know, for this class it's easy because it's so small. I already know who's here and who's not. But if you want, you can type in your name in the chat if you wish. No question? Okay, so if you didn't get the information from Monday, I did put some internship information for Riverside County. I asked them about forensic technician, so if you're interested, you can fill that out. I talked to Jennifer McDaniel for the apprenticeship thing, and she is starting to work on that now. So if you have filled that out already, then she can pull your profile. So what will happen is before we match you up with the company, we actually give you a technical test. And that test will entail some troubleshooting, some networking, and some security question. Very simple stuff like ARP. So if you took CIS-27 already and CIS-26, or if you have knowledge of networking, I didn't offer 40A this semester because nobody really enrolled for it. So there were 2 students and they canceled the class. But networking is essential in security work. So once, you know, we will put that onto a Canvas shell, and then we will link you to the Canvas shell. You will take the quiz or whatever on that Canvas, and it shows the result. And then with that, we would send that to the employer. That's what they've been asking for, is to make sure that the students have the basic stuff coming in. So if you're not sure, right, if you don't remember because you took the class a while back, go back and review before you attempt it. Any question? Chris, question?
Oh, no. Sorry.
Okay.
I was
That's
kissing
okay.
my pet puppy.
All right. Okay. So I'll give you some time to finish the lab. That's all I have to say today. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you here next week. Okay.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you have questions, you can ask. Stick around. Any question? Yeah, I saw you on earlier, David, so you're good. Okay.
Okay, we're just making sure because I switched my from my phone to my laptop earlier. That's why.
Okay. Yeah, I saw you on earlier, so I knew that was you. That's okay. I got you. Yeah. Everybody's
Okay.
here today. So. Okay. Do you have any question?
Hold on. I'm trying to figure it out. Work on this a little bit on my computer, or at least getting used to it since it's like my second time being on it on the computer.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not used to it a little bit, but I was gonna say was for some of the late assignments.
Uh-huh.
'Cause
Yeah,
I know
you can.
yeah, I have a few late assignments. I wanted to work on those, especially like a lab or 2 that I didn't do. So,
Okay.
did you have
Yeah,
any?
so if you submit it, if it's
Mhm.
locked, just let me know and then I will unlock it for you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because I usually give it like a month that for availability.
Mhm.
So yeah, in a larger class, it's allowing me to control, but yeah, in case if it's locked for you, just shoot me an email and then let me know which one it is. I usually can find it quickly in Canvas anyway, but yeah, if you need something unlocked, I can unlock it, like change the availability like date. But yeah, you can still submit those. And then if it's practice lab, you just click the link and then go in and do it. So far we only did lab 2 with practice lab, and then this one. The first one, we did it in class together with the software. So if you haven't gotten that one done, then you can try to do that. But keep in
Yeah.
mind that once you're done with that one, make sure that you should. I mean, the tool itself is okay to keep, but the download, you should delete that download. Even though it's coming in as it has traffic capture, but sometimes the system would see that as a threat and it's gonna raise the alarm. So yeah, when you're done with lab 1, then you can remove the file that you download.
Okay.
Okay,
Got
yeah, just click submit, send it in, and then I'll grade it.
Okay. Got it. Appreciate it. And then I know I wanted to. I was talking with you last time about you're saying the Riverside County Sheriff's is still looking for I forgot what the term you called it for.
Intern?
Yes, an intern.
Yeah, so I posted it. Let me show you where it is. So
Yeah.
on Canvas, if you look at the announcement,
Oh, it was under announcements. Okay.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
because I was trying to look for it right
it,
after the meeting last time.
yeah, so it's under announcement. The apprenticeship is through the college, and then it's with employers, but we that's in spring. So the internship, that's different. That's in, I always have different things. Okay, so here's the internship, and it varies from, it depends on your skill sets, so I had asked them about forensic only, and because I know that the police department worked with a lot of, different type of forensic examiner, and it will be perfect for you guys to look for internship.
Yeah, exactly.
So the person that came to present this information,
hmm
he said that he had asked HR, and they said to point your students here. That's what he said. And so this is this list for everything. So basically it's like a catch-all application. So you would apply for it by clicking this link, and it would take you to the actual page, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the link. And then so this one is right here. So then once you go to the advertisement of it, then you click on this, and then you can click apply. Okay.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So once you fill out the application, if you have any question, then what I did was I just copy and paste their information over here so you can see. But you can also email them, right?
Mhm.
So so there's the email information. But here's the internship. So click that link to get to the page. And then once you get to the page, click this right here, the title of it, which gives you the application information. And then you just
Okay,
click
gotcha.
apply. And then it will ask you to create an account so you can save your application.
Now,
Right.
which website is this through? Is it like through
Governmentjobs.com.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it was through those other ones like ZipRecruiter or
Yeah,
the
they
other.
advertised on governmentjobs.com a lot. A lot of the county and some city, but it depends on who they advertise with. So I see it a lot on governmentjobs.com, or sometime it could be internal, like RCCD. They link it to other web pages, but yeah. So you can create an account, and then with that you can have it, to notify you if there's other type of jobs that's similar to that. All those job engine, just it crawls through and it gives you the things that you need based on what it has.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
All right, that makes more sense. Got it.
So announcement is where you would find some of the latest, greatest. And then for the apprenticeship, you go to the previous announcement
hmm
and you click on the form. And she created this this Google form. So you fill it out. There are multiple pages, so you have to go through and then click next and next. And I think it requires a LinkedIn profile and other things. So once you have that, you can submit it.
Okay.
And then she will get that information, and then she would contact me. So yeah, because I'm on as my other Gmail account. But it's okay if you use your Gmail account, then
Mhm.
it will just tie it to your account, so you would have that link to that form. I had
Yeah.
several students ask me about that. Now
Yeah,
I think
I see why.
she's gonna ask for like a picture, because for some reason employers want picture, maybe because when they meet you in person or via virtual, they know who you are.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
in the past I didn't I didn't have to deal with that, but now I think they ask for that because a lot of the time you work remotely, so they kind of want to see who you are. So you would, if you have a good headshot that you want to use for, professional, like if you use that for your LinkedIn or something like that, you can upload it. Okay. So what we do is we create, like we would have a profile document that goes out to employers to kind of preview them to who you are, and also highlight some of the things that we think that would be good for their company. So from there, then they also look at your resume and things like that. Okay.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. If you can think of any other questions, you can shoot me an email and I'll be happy to answer it.
All right. There was one more question. Do you talk a certain percentage after each day an assignment is late? I haven't got a chance to check.
Well, for my syllabus, I do 10% per week late.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because I didn't check the syllabus or see in the fine details of it to find
yeah.
out.
But if
Okay.
it's like 2 days late, I usually don't ding. Like I tell my students, I say, I know things come up, I know things come up at home and at your job. And so, you intend to turn it in or sometime you forget. So if it's a day or two late or, a couple days late, I usually don't deduct. But if it's like a week or more, I usually would go in and deduct points. And that's just my policy.
Okay.
I used to be, very, it depends. Graduate level, when I teach graduate level, I'm a stickler with, because at that point they should be a lot more professional. But I'm a little bit more flexible when I'm teaching undergrad. So if you can, right, submit as many as you can to get your grade up to par, and I will update it as I receive the assignment, because Canvas will send me the link and then I will go in and edit it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Other questions?
No, that was all of it. Yeah, no, not any more I can think of.
Okay. So I hope you have a good night. I'm gonna sign off and take my dog for a walk, because they're getting a little antsy right now. So,
Yeah, at least while the sun's still out for now.
but it's cooler now, so it's nice now.
Yeah, it is true. It is pretty good. All right.
Okay, so you hope both of you have a good night. I think that your fan is still on. So, okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Have a
Bye-bye.
wonderful night. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Do you have any questions for me? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get off. So if you have any question, please email or see me on Monday, okay? Or tomorrow during office hours. Tell your husband I said hi also. All right, have a good night.